The F1 show with Simon and the gang is back from 2:15. And tomorrow, final practice is 9:15 in the morning. Qualifying gets underway from 12:15, and your race day looks like this. We're on air from 10:30 in the morning. It is lights out at 12 noon for this race weekend. Well, they're getting ready in the McLaren garage. They could clinch the Constructors' title this weekend, their second consecutive title. Up in commentary for this session, it's Harry Benjamin, Karun Chandhok and Bernie Collins.
As the European season comes to a close, we embark on the final flyaways. It's the run-in to Abu Dhabi, 8 Grand Prix left to go, and we get the first of them underway across this weekend. We're in the capital of Azerbaijan, in the city of Baku, where Europe meets Asia. A tad over 6 kilometers this track, making it the 4th longest on the entire calendar. It's fast, furious, and precise. 3 sectors, 2 DRS zones, make it a fun challenge for the drivers, from 90-degree left-handers to flat-out 200-mile-per-hour straights. There is no rest to be had around these city streets. Update on the tyres from the weekend as well. Pirelli have brought the softest trio in the range, 1 step softer than last year. The C6 soft, the C5 medium, and the C4 hard, with intermediate tyres at the ready. Some rain forecast throughout the course of the weekend, and indeed the rain, the wind certainly has been ebbing and flowing across the weekend, making track conditions a little tricky. It is Harry Benjamin with Karun Chandhok alongside, and Bernie Collins. Karun, I said it's a challenging track, but it looks like a lot of fun too.
I think it is a fun track. Yeah, you know, as you mentioned, you've got that contrast of the tight and twisty bit through the old town, as we're looking at here. We're actually going backwards on the track somewhat confusingly, but it's a very narrow part of this, not just this circuit, Harry, but actually of the entire F1 calendar. And then you come along the seafront, and the track opens up. It's wide, 2.2 kilometers of flat-out acceleration from turn 16 all the way up to the braking of turn 1, and that's what we're about to see from that lovely little drone shot.
Yeah, on the shores of the Caspian Sea. This really does fly through the old town. You've got also the modern day architecture as well, the glass sky rises that litter this capital city. Bernie, FP1, bit of a truncated session. We didn't really get much to analyse.
Yeah, the teams would have had loads to go through, but they will have enough information to get them set up for this P2 session. They've got that all-important run at the end of P1. Now, one thing to note is that because P1 was much shorter, as you said, Harry, that means that the track improvement won't have happened at the same rate that it will have if there was 20 cars going around for the full hour. So it might start actually a little bit slower than you might expect at the beginning of P2, but we'll see the improvement through that session. We've obviously had running in between with the F2s on track as well that will help. So there'll still be more improvement to come in this session. This is the big session for them, as always. P2 the most relevant one of the weekend, so they'll not be too worried about that. And it did obviously help Oscar Piastri, who was going to miss that time anyway.
Yeah, a bit of a power unit issue for Oscar Piastri, but he didn't actually lose that much time relative to everybody else on the track.
Yeah, that's right. So a little bit of a lucky escape. Hopefully it wasn't a major issue that will come back to haunt them as they're putting the car together. You know, I think to underline Bernie's point, last year was 2 seconds the improvement between FP1 and FP2. But the lap times this morning, Bernie, were much faster, weren't they? I know we've got a slightly softer time, but the lap times were nearly 3 seconds quicker than last year.
Yeah, we've got a slightly softer tyre. We're not expecting big things from that, to be honest, around here. But the cars have moved on and progressed, and you know, it is quite a big difference in the year when you look at just the pure lap times on it. But Yeah, always improving as we do in F1. So lap time's getting quicker and quicker year on year.
Well, just a few moments away then from getting the green light on at the end of the pit lane to get this second practice session underway, and I think it's going to be a rather busy one based on the lack of track action from FP1. Air temperature 24.5 degrees, track temp almost 33 degrees, hotting up a little bit, so we're looking forward to see what action we've got in store for FP2. And a very warm welcome to those joining us on Sky Sports main event. It's Harry Benjamin with Corinne Chandler and Bernie Collins about to guide you through the second practice session here in Baku in Azerbaijan. I thought I heard a bit of team radio there, I didn't. Anyway, we're going to go and get FP2 underway. It's going to be a really busy session though, Karun, isn't it? Because there's a lot of time to be made up.
Yeah, that's right. We had a long red flag in FP1 for those of you who weren't watching the coverage. So the teams are going to get through their programs. They're going to try and understand where the car's at in terms of the car balance, because this is a representative time of the day in terms of the track temperature for qualifying and the race. The forecast is a little bit all over the place. We're talking about wind, high winds tomorrow, up to something like 45 kilometers an hour, apparently, which should be exciting. And then rain, Bernie, on Sunday still.
Yeah, there's some rain for the morning of Saturday and Sunday, so let's see how that progresses. But that is something teams are going to have to keep on top of. One, the track improvement, and two, the change in ambient and weather conditions as we go through the remainder of the weekend.
A strategist nightmare or one you absolutely relish?
It's different, you know, a bit like we heard earlier, it's the same for everyone, so it does make it more challenging. You do have less data at the right condition when you get to race day. More challenging for the strategists, much better for us at home because many more unknowns going into this race. That means people have more reactions to do.
Well, we're expecting a busy session. One man who is always busy up and down the pit lane. Good afternoon, Ted Kravitz.
Hello Harry, hello Bernie, hello Anthony, hello everybody, good afternoon here from Azerbaijan. Starting to cool off, it's been quite a humid day down here, but starting to cool off as we go into the evening, but expectations really not cooling off down here at the Scuderia Ferrari. Lewis Hamilton had a positive first practice session, as did his teammate Charles Leclerc, and it's really Leclerc that I'm going to watch for over a single lap pace here. They've brought an upgrade to Ferrari. Okay, it's relatively small, it's only a front brake duct outlet, just to speed the air through, to cool the brakes, and then get quickly out to be worked by the back of the car, but an upgrade is an upgrade. And Leclerc said earlier on today, we are somewhere in the right window with the setup of the car. Let's see what Hamilton does in this session, because we heard yesterday, Harry, Hamilton always going out in the medium tyres. All right, Bernie, you'll pick up on that. Hamilton has changed something on the car. We don't know what it is particularly. He's not saying. We think it might be something to do with the brakes or the brake programming to get him more comfortable in the car. And as you can see that car going out, a load of aero paint, some Flovis paint on the back of that rear wing of that Ferrari.
Thanks, Ted. I mean, yeah, currently not surprised they're going to want to kind of focus on the brakes this weekend. Heavy braking zones to deal with. You're getting up to over 200 miles per hour before you get to turn one.
Yeah, that's right. But also, you've got big braking zones down into 3. You need to get the car braking and turning into 15, a really difficult braking zone there. And even the little stops, right? Into 7, into 5. You know, they're still important braking zones, and I think it's the highest braking energy on the calendar, right up there with Singapore. So yeah, absolutely, it's a track where you need confidence on the brakes.
So a mixed set of medium, soft, and Albon actually got out on the hard tyre as well. So Bernie, we only saw the soft running really in FP1. So this is the chance now we're going to see across the course of the next hour. Clearly differing strategies, but going for the long run and the short run pace.
Yeah, and you know that what's lighting up there on the side of your screen, Harry, is really, really interesting to me. So question for you, Harry. What do we not normally see a first run on in P2 session?
What do we in a P2 session? I'm going to say a half time?
We normally don't see a soft. We normally see a medium or a hard first run. Then they move to the soft. Then they move. Really? To catch you out, Harry. Then they move to the soft. And then they get into the long runs. Now, we're already seeing a number of drivers out there, 9 drivers if I can count quickly enough, maybe 10, that are on the soft tyre. And that's really unusual for this session. Why have they done that? Why are you running the soft tyre so early? I think that the delta, so the time difference between the soft and the medium tyre, is going to be very, very small. This C6 tyre that we had in Monaco, we had in Imola, it is performing better. It has got more grip. But to keep that grip for the entire lap, 6 kilometres we have here, is very difficult. To keep it working exactly, to get all of that performance out of it. And I think we're going to see people running a medium tyre in qualifying, and therefore they're saving them from this session and running the softs now. The reason why others aren't running a hard is potentially to protect for a safety car or a red flag in the race. So people are maybe going to, they only come in with 2 hards for the whole weekend, so they're maybe going to save both of those, apart from Albon, I think it was, it's on the hard. And they only come in the weekend with 4 mediums. So if you think a medium might be a stronger tyre in qualifying, you can't burn too many in these practice sessions. So let's see how the rest of the session goes. But it looks like people are thinking that maybe the medium is going to be easier to control in qualifying.
Just going inside the helmet here of Oscar Piastri. Look at that bar on the right-hand side, Harry. That is, starts with a green. That is the battery state chart. So that tells him how much battery he's got in the hybrid system. And you can see he's saving a lot of it up, because as we're coming through, I hope we stay on board. I'd love to see how he dumps the battery coming out of 16. There's a yellow flag somewhere on track.
It might be Lawson.
Yeah, he is at turn 15. I didn't see, maybe he was in the escape road. Oh, we've cut away just to the point. I was hoping to see that bar go all the way down, as Piastri's gone faster than anyone in the first 2 sectors.
Yeah, and will now this goes green again, run all the way to the checkered flag. Let's just see where this opening gambit puts him as he crosses the line. At the moment it is Hulkenberg who has the fastest lap time out the early runners, and it has to be the Piastri right to the top. Sky Sports and now viewers, a reminder that you're able to jump on board with any of the 20 Formula 1 drivers on this year's grid and listen in on their team radio. To get started, all you need to do is download the Sky Sports app to your phone or tablet device, which you can do by scanning the QR code on your screen. Once you're there, log in with your Sky ID and head to the Sky Sports F1 channel to choose your driver. Sky Glass, Sky Q and Sky Stream customers, you can also access this experience via the interactive button on your remote control. And I think if you are on board with any of your drivers, whether it be Hamilton, Liam Lawson, Lance Stroll, Fernando Alonso, I think you're going to enjoy the view, because all action straight from the off, and that was Liam Lawson and the reason for the yellow flag.
Just locked up the right front. It's a tricky one, because you need to bring the car back to the right and then turn left. Lewis Hamilton, meanwhile, locking up both front tires on the entry to turn 7. That's symptomatic of cold grab. If you haven't got the tires, the front tires or the front brakes in the right temperature, then you get the snatching feeling. And Lewis just going into the runoff area. Hopefully it won't be, the speed's not too high, so hopefully the tires aren't completely flat spotted, so they go in the bin and you can at least get a run on it.
Well, Verstappen though pops himself to the top of the times. George Russell making his way around at the moment with a special edition helmet. You might be able to spy the Blue Marine Foundation paying tribute to them, celebrating and protecting sea life. And George Russell also, I think, having to protect his voice a little bit this weekend. Sounded quite hoarse in an FP1 week when we heard him. I think he needs a few throat lozenges to get himself through the rest of the day, but it's not slowing him down one bit as he embarks through that first 90-degree left-hander. It really is, the first 4 corners, pretty much 90-degree left-handed by the last one.
Yeah, that's right, and you can see George, the rear of the car, a little bit of movement. I love this helicopter shot, because you really get a sense of how we are right in the middle of the city here, aren't we? Going around the parks and playgrounds and the government buildings and hotels. And this helicopter shot gives us a real sense of that.
Now, if you're George Russell, Karun Chandhok, and you're currently trying to finalise a contract deal,
Yeah.
are you a bit annoyed at the moment?
Yeah, the whole process, I feel, it's just been a bit strange, because what more could George have done for guaranteeing his position in the team? He's comprehensively beaten his teammate. The only race he was behind was Miami. He's delivered the only victory for Mercedes this year. He was clearly ahead of Lewis Hamilton last year. He's driving well. I don't know what more he could have done. So I would be annoyed, because if there were any question marks around Max Verstappen coming, surely with all of these performances, it should be the other car that Max Verstappen is going to come into. George should have been a slam dunk to have the deal. So if he is annoyed, and I don't know if he is, but I would be if I was it, because it's, you know, at the end of the day, this is a meritocratic sport, you like to think, and he's delivered brilliantly on track.
I think he's had one of the best seasons of his career so far, constantly delivering in a car that isn't front running consistently all the time. Certainly when you compare it to McLaren, obviously, as he does go to the top of the times. And then you have George Russell, obviously, on that side of the garage, performing at such a top level as Norris now on the soft tyre, going perfectly in the first two sets as Leclerc has just gone top. And then you have on the other side of the garage this hotly contested rookie, Kimi Antonelli, and you have Toto Wolff calling his Monza performance underwhelming. He said it about 5 times in the same answer. That is going to have a bit of an impact as well. So what more can George do when he's consistently outperforming? Yes, I know, okay, a rookie driver in the other team, in the other car. Yellow flag out on track, we'll see who that is. It is indeed the Haas. Just Ollie Behrman, I think, obviously went deep and then maybe put it into reverse just to get himself out of that tight runoff area.
It's a point, Bernie, isn't it, that the drivers and engineers all have to think about reverse gear when they come to a street circuit, not just here in Monaco as well. You know, it's not something you often end up using on the permanent track, but, and it sounds weird to say, but the drivers need to remember how to get in reverse gear.
Yeah, exactly, and it's not the easiest gear to engage. You know, the other gears, you spend a lot of time in gearbox design, making sure the engagement's nice and quick, that it doesn't clash in any way, there's no possible damage to the gears. Reverse is a bit more robust, but it's a bit more clunky to engage. And that's why they have to practice it in advance of going into the weekend and sort of remember what procedure they need to do. Every car has a slightly different procedure of how they engage it, but we go through that with each driver in advance of the weekend and make sure that they can do it. Some teams you'll actually see will make their driver do it in the garage, or, you know, stationary at the end of a session in the pit stop. Make sure that you can engage it. You can't actually reverse in that situation, but just make sure it properly engages and they know what they're doing with it.
Well, Ollie Behrman managing to get himself back on track, although we go from one rookie, Kimi Antonelli, talking about Ollie Behrman. He's got to be careful as Behrman. He's on 10 penalty points.
Yeah.
We're going to have the same. We had this conversation with Max Verstappen earlier on in the year, and Ollie Behrman has built them up, and it's a little bit ironic that it comes at the racetrack where he made his debut for Haas, replacing Kevin Magnussen, who notched up 12 points and got the one race ban. So Ollie Behrman does have to be on the careful side, and that, I think, that is going to affect how he goes racing, especially in that tight mid-pack.
Well, I asked him that question in a feature that you'll see before our qualifying show tomorrow.
Well, you walked it in, didn't you?
Yeah, on Thursday, and he is conscious of it. You know, I think he's conscious of the fact, especially the Silverstone 4 points he got there was clumsy, right? You know, under a red flag, having that sort of incident is so clumsy. Overtaking in Monaco, personally, I think he could have avoided it. He says no, but that was another 2 points there. I actually think Monza, he was unlucky. You know, I think if there was a way that Haas could have presented new evidence to make a right of review, you know, a valid submission, in the same way Williams did for the Zandvoort crash, I think they could have been a good case to turn that around. Because to me, and it was interesting, James Vowles from Williams, who was on the other side, obviously, with Carlos, in that incident, said to us after FP1, he thought it was a racing incident as well. So, yeah, I sympathise a little bit with Ollie for that one.
I think they might come to regret that in time. You know, obviously, when we got to the end of Monza, when they could have put in a review, we didn't have the result of the appeal from Williams, I think, at that stage. So maybe they didn't think they'd get anywhere with it, or didn't think it would be possible. But it is one of those things that maybe afterwards you'll question if he is unfortunate to pick up more points. It does miss a race. What you could have done differently there.
I was also wondering, Harry, who the reserve driver was.
So, I was thinking this as well.
Yeah.
Now, I could be wrong on this, and I'm happy to be corrected. Do you know?
I know the answer.
Oh, you know
now,
the
because I read an answer.
So I think it's Joe
Guan
Guanyu. I think Joe Guanyu would step up. Because
No.
he's Ferrari reserve, but I think he would go into Haas.
No, it's Hirakawa.
Really?
Yeah, it's Hirakawa, who does have enough super license points.
That would be the question from where?
He does, from World Endurance Championship. So Hirakawa has been out testing in what they call the TPC program. So the 2-year-old car, he's been out in Imola testing, getting some mileage in. He tested, I think, at Fuji earlier. So yeah, he would be the one to step up.
So watch this for McLaren go down the main straight, because he has got 3 cars running in front of him. So he's at a 3-car tow to the line there. And actually, yellow sector 3, so he must have lost the time somewhere else.
Yeah, 3:28 only on the speed trap, which is the fastest we've seen of anyone today. And I'm just trying to compare. We'll see Hamilton's coming past. So this, if they've got the same wing level, and I don't see anyone in front of Lewis, we'll get a comparison of what a non-slipstream speed is, isn't it?
Here he comes. Lewis Hamilton on that medium tyre.
The reason why you can't watch is because it's copyright. If I show you it, I will get copyrighted.
Kilometers an hour the slipstream is worth. Lewis's last sector, competence down on Leclerc, and yeah, 7 kilometers an hour. You can see that sort of translated. As Bernie said, Leclerc got literally the perfect of perfect tours. We didn't see if he made a mistake.
Okay, mate, it's okay.
Didn't see if he made a mistake.
This is it. We're going to see it at the moment. Here we go. From a few moments ago, Charles Leclerc racing his way down. Ooh, slight touch of the barrier on the exit. We'll get a better look now. A gentle kiss from Leclerc. Oh, well, looked a little bit more than gentle.
As a
Yeah, well, that's why I'll be yellow sector 3, but you know, brilliant tow to have 3 cars that close.
The ninth one is cruising in the racing line. Okay.
So Bortoletto there, Bortoletto complaining of someone cruising on the racing line. We have heard a lot of that in Monza and all that sort of stuff. When people were just sitting on the racing line. David Croft also complaining about that, who was up in the commentary box at the time. Are you a Red Bull fan? More or less a McLaren fan. Yeah, more or less a McLaren fan. Not really a Red Bull fan. More or less a McLaren fan. Here, as speaking of McLaren, we watch on board here with Lando Norris, and now Gasly getting sideways. There, getting sideways on the exit of turn 20. Fast right, left, right. As you approach now the line for Pierre Gasly, opening that up, that DRS on the soft compound tyres up to P16, 2.1 seconds off, 143.9. Lando Norris now, purple through the second sector, 4 tenths up. 8th gear, max gear, 300 kilometers an hour, 190 miles an hour. On approach to 200 miles an hour, he's backed off on this lap here, Lando. He will be boxing. So Lando boxing this lap here. But that lap was going to put him to the top of the session by 6 tenths by those sectors. So 6 tenths for Lando Norris is a big gap to Ferrari, of course. Their main challenges this season. And the first medium compound tyres we're seeing of the weekend going on the car of Lando Norris. Going on to the medium tyres for that car. Now that I look at it, other people are on, for example, Alex Albon on the hard compound tyres. Now that I look at it, of course, I've just joined this session. So, ooh, that's a big snap for Alex Albon. Getting sideways over the Ripple Strip, which, of course, we saw that curbstone there have a bit of a drama as that McLaren car gets pushed back into the pit lane. That's fair. I'm excited for Audi next year. Yeah, I'm excited to see how Audi will perform in terms of their pace. Of course, Kick Sauber in replace for Audi next year. Rumours going around that Kick Sauber, they are putting development on towards Audi. At least those rumours possibly might be true. Who knows yet? And as to if Jonathan Wheatley will stay at Kick Sauber on to that return for Audi, who knows? I don't know if those rumours are true. And if they are, then it will be quite exciting. Fernando Alonso getting a fat toe off the back of Williams, off one of the Williams cars, and that's Carlos Sainz, being very gentlemanly. And Fernando Alonso now pops himself up to P15, 143.697. Lewis Hamilton has gone propel through the first sector on the medium compound tyres now, through turn 14 and onto the approach of turn 15. Hard braking zone, getting as close as he can to that Tech Pro barrier. on the outside, get the power down. He's 4 tenths up through the second sector now on the medium tyres. On the exit, turn 17 for Lewis Hamilton. Fast 18, 19, and 20. Down the back straight now. On the exit, turn 20. Getting the power down. Already at full power through turn 20. And Lewis Hamilton running to the line now. He will go to the top by 2 tenths over his teammate. 141.543. Of course, we saw that record being broken in FP1 over 143.0. That was in FP1 a bit earlier on today. But, yeah, it's the fastest lap overall around here, 143.3. Lap record around here, 143.0. Pole time in 2023 was a 1 minute 40.2. So, yeah, we're not as close to that as what you'd be expecting. 1 minute 40.2. We are still we're still about 1.3 seconds off that pace, but the track is continuing to improve. Lance Stroll, finessing that wall, getting a bit too close for comfort. And what I mean by a bit too close, I mean actually touching the wall. Hopefully there is no suspension damage to that car. Charles Leclerc exit, tapping the wall. Claire saying, I touched the wall quite hard there. Becoming good friends with that liquid moly wall there is Charles Leclerc. I think that's what most people are doing right now. Getting friends with the walls around here. And doing it quite well. 20 minutes gone in FP2. Lewis Hamilton, though, he tops this session so far, 141.5. 22 minutes gone. Everybody is coming back into the pits. As we look on board with Hamilton running down the pit lane. Now pulling that car up in his grid box now. As we look over through the castle section. The fans will be flocking in here for FP2 Saturday qualifying day. Tomorrow will be good indeed. The fans also turning out here. Everybody's in the pit lane at the moment, so nobody out on track. Very much like what we saw. Meeting in an hour. So be organised. I don't want to have to yell at you.
The second year that this race has been moved to September time now, compared to earlier on the year when they used to run. So they don't have a huge set of data to run on. How much is that a thing that the teams are going to have to get on top of as well?
Yeah, the team, I should point out the Irish flag in the stands, so hello. So, yeah, I think that the teams will be looking, they've got some data on the track. The track here changes a lot year to year anyway, because it is a street circuit, as we keep saying. Little bits get resurfaced here and there, so there's lots of changes that way. The teams, maybe not at this track, but at other tracks, have lots of compares and a whole range of ambient and track temperatures, so they can sort of take some of that data and use it to estimate what they think, how they think the tyres perform, how they think the conditions will be here. The big thing about changing at the end of the year is actually, it's very variable. We're talking about today being quite hot and humid, as Ted said in the pit lane earlier, and sunny. Tomorrow potentially very dull, very, very windy, and then Sunday sort of maybe somewhere in the middle, but that variability isn't what we had when we had it in a sort of more stable earlier part of the year. And that's a bit more difficult to deal with the teams. But I think they do a pretty good job. I think one thing just to pick up what Corinne said about the medium tyre there is, because so many teams have run soft this morning and running soft now, and potentially for their second run, let's see what they come out in. And many teams are going to go into tomorrow having not run a medium, which they think is their preferred qualifying tyre. So getting the balance exactly right on that medium tyre in qualifying isn't going to be potentially straightforward. They might run it in FP3, but that's obviously different time there.
Bit of work going on for Lewis Hamilton. Is he having a problem with his belts?
Yeah, it looks like they're struggling to get the belts coming through. He must have maybe jumped out of the car in between the two runs, a comfort break or something, and struggling to get it back in.
Well, we are now being treated to cars out on track, so getting busier in the pit lane as they head out there. Let's head back down to Ted.
Thank you, Harry. We've got a little thought on who might struggle to get out of Q1 when it gets to qualifying tomorrow. And if you look at it at the moment, that might be the Haas team and the Alpine team. Actually, Pierre Gasly was, he got a little snap of oversteer on his last run, so he lost a bit of time. So maybe that P18 of Gasly at the moment isn't representative. Frank Colapinto is just playing himself in a little bit steadily to this racetrack, despite being used to it from last year when he scored points, of course, in the Williams here last year. But Colapinto did a bit of testing for them earlier on in the day. He tried out the low downforce rear wing, and actually Gasly has taken that rear wing. So they are trying to be maybe offsetting some of their well-known power deficit. Maybe you're trying to offset that. They are pretty low on wing. Take a look at it when you see either of the Alpines on track.
So, in the Williams there, you can see he turns the power mode up to the highest mode just before 16, because you want to make sure you get a good exit out of there to start the lap. But you've got to make sure you've still got enough juice to finish the lap, because the timing line's actually not that far away from turn 1. So the benefit comes mainly on the lap. That was a big wall. He's done the suspension. The car's crabbing there. He's done the suspension. Yeah,
that is damage for Lando Norris then out on the track, coming out of turn 4, and will have to limp a long way home to get himself.
Lando Norris, big contact with the wall. There is big suspension damage with that car. He's crabbing everywhere, and on the exit, as he started his qualifying simulation, he's had contact with the wall.
Yeah.
McLaren, and once again, another setback for McLaren in 2025. Not many setbacks have come the way of McLaren, and in FP2, it's gone the way of Lando Norris. Not good. So you can see here on the exit, this is exit turn 4, bang, wall right there, and a lot of people have made friends with that wall. Lewis Hamilton, already in this session, but Lando Norris in strife here in FP2. Bang! In the wall, and in the wall hard for Lando Norris. There's suspension damage, but it hasn't ripped the tyre off that car. That is a good sign for the McLaren team. You can see there William Joseph, the race engineer for Lando Norris, possibly telling him there over the radio, box immediately there, as that will be more or less helpful. And a very slow Lando Norris here in FP2. Big news for McLaren, and they're in strife. See there, just that right hand down for that wheel. Yeah, you can see he's constantly checking his mirrors, staying over to the left-hand side. He'll probably cut the chicane. He will. He'll cut the chicane. But he's very badly in strife here in this session. He's running at about 50 miles an hour here, so he's going quite slowly. White flag being shown to that McLaren, getting off the racing line. But that's big. That is big. Now, we did see in FP1 Oscar Piastri struggling with some mechanical dramas. They were able to fix that during the lengthy red flag. But now, if there's not a red flag sooner rather than later, they could be in a bit of trouble for McLaren. This is at least the rest of the session gone for Lando. And this circuit you really have to get acclimatized to. This is the replay. Got really close to the wall at turn 2. But then it just came back to bit him. The next corner, turn 3. So you can't get away with everything around here. And the walls are so close. And that is the problem that has been faced there for Lando. Bang! In the wall hards. That Liquimoli fence will have some marks along it. Not good. That is a wow, that suspension's bent. Wow, that rear suspension is badly bent. I'm surprised he didn't take the wheel off that car. I'm actually surprised. But that rear left suspension is badly bent. For the championship contender, Lando Norris out in possible FP2. Not going to be able to get any more runs in. That's huge. That is a huge topic. Building into FP3 and even in qualifying. Will he make it through the pit lane? He'll be able to make it to the pit lane. But good presence of mind there for the McLaren team. That suspension arm is very badly bent.
Seeing him really driving that McLaren like it's a shopping trolley, supermarket trolley, which doesn't handle particularly well. And they calmly wheel him back and see what they're going to have to do. Obviously the wheel's gone, they're going to have to change one of the suspension arms, I would imagine, one of the wishbones. Maybe they can get him out again in short order. But yeah, when they're seeing Ferrari actually show their pace, and maybe now we're going to see what Piastri's got on this run, that's, well, that's a hit, quite literally, that Lando didn't need.
No.
It very much isn't, thank you, Ted. Very much not a hit that Lando Norris needed here in FP2. And getting so close to the walls is Oscar Piastri. Sliding that McLaren, sliding on the rubber, and absolutely sending it everywhere as he runs up through the castle section. Leclerc has gone fastest through the first sector. This is not what Ferrari needed, or McLaren needed, as he... Oh! Piastri is flirting with the walls here at Baku, and not what McLaren needed. Ferrari 1-2. This could be a weekend where McLaren, 2 weekends in a row, it's fatally gone wrong for them. In the braking zone, turn 15 for Charles Leclerc. He's gone purple through the first sector, and once again, it's gone fatally wrong for McLaren 2 times in a row throughout 2 weekends. Of course, it's only free practice, but if that happens in qualifying, Lando Norris will be out. Through turn 20 now. Final corner for Leclerc. Full power as he runs to the line for Charles Leclerc. What's the lap going to be? It's first for Ferrari. 1-2, 141.3. Going the way of Charles Leclerc. There, Piastri over the radio.
Yeah, I don't know if I have any damage.
Drive slow.
You're kidding. You're kidding. Piastri also has damage as well. That will not be good. I think that is Lando Norris. Oh, no, that's Oscar Piastri making his way back out onto the pit lane. Onto the track. Touch with the wall for Oscar Piastri. That is both McLarens that have made quite a hit with the wall here in FP2. That is... And also Franco Colapinto getting close with the wall. I think every driver's touched that wall so far here in free practice. Literally every driver, I think. Every single driver. Lance Stroll now up through the castle section. No, sorry, this is Fernando Alonso through the castle section now. And now on approach to turn 16. Exiting turn 15 now. And making his run down into turn 16, where we've seen a lot of drivers so far touch the wall there. With just over 20 minutes to go. 1.5 seconds down, Fernando Alonso through the second sector. This will put him about P14 if he keeps this up. On approach 300 kilometers an hour, nearly 200 miles an hour for Fernando Alonso. Opening that DRS. Now you can see the speedometer going up and up and up and up, and you reach about 340 kilometers an hour, just less, as Fernando Alonso now P16. Aston Martin struggling here this week, and they are P16, and his teammates Lance Stroll P18. So they're on the brink of, they're on the verge of, they don't have much pace actually. If I'm going to say anything, they don't have that much pace. As that is another slow McLaren going slow to the left-hand side of the circuits. That, I think, would be Oscar Piastri going slow. He's on an outlap, so that would explain that. I think the team... And there you go, Lewis Hamilton getting a tow now down the back straight. He'll open DRS, he'll reach about 341 kilometers an hour down the back straight. Tow from the Alpine. Is this going to be good enough to go to the top? No, but he did improve his personal best. He's a 141.5. 2/10 off the pace. Ollie Behrman, what a lap on the medium compound tyres. 5/10 off the pace. That is a good lap. 141.8. Esteban Ocon as well. Doing a lot about a lap as well. P7 on the soft compound tyres. Yuki Tsunoda up in P13. Exactly 1 second off the pace for Yuki Tsunoda up into P13. 20 minutes to go in FP2. Let's end up to Harry Benjamin, Corinne Chainlock, and just genuinely end up to the commentary box.
Before 16, and maybe the brakes just weren't where he wanted for the first sector of the lap.
Pushing hard, but it's the two Ferraris at the moment, 1 and 2, with about 20 minutes left. Let's head back down to the pit lane, Ted.
Right, take a look for yourself at Lando Norris's car, and you tell me whether you think this is going to do any long runs.
Ooh,
Harry, Bernie,
I wouldn't say so.
I wouldn't have said so too. So, what an eventful day we've had in practice here in Baku, with Oscar Piastri starting with an engine problem that caught him in the garage earlier on in free practice 1. That was fixed quite quickly. By contrast, I'm not sure this broken suspension on the back of Lando Norris's McLaren is going to be fixed before the end of the session. Never say never. Just the fact that it's on stands doesn't mean that it's impossible, but I can see the car being taken apart in various other ways that they would normally do between free practice 2 and free practice 3. Now, the effect of not having the long runs. We saw it last week in Monza, Kimi Antonelli, didn't we? How much will it affect Lando, a more experienced driver, but with a chance of the title? Discuss. Bernie. She knows everything, Harry. She knows everything, Harry. It will affect him, Bernie, won't it? But how much?
Of course, and I think that he has got the one first run on that soft tyre in this section, which will set him up well, but I think that Norris has had the ability that he will be able to adapt and get into the race. He should know how to control the tyres. But it will be unfortunate to not get the second run on the soft tyre, which Piastri's doing, in this session, in order to really fine-tune those balance. Conversely, there's often an argument in the pit wall, well, it's better to do it today. If you do that in FP3, I've had many years, which I'm sure Harry's ready to reel off at any given moment, where my car has crashed in FP3, and then it's a real, really up against it to get it out in qualifying. At least today they've got time to go through it, sort it out, look at what went wrong, is it the difference between the used and the new tyre? But yeah, it'll definitely, I think, knock his confidence going into qualifying tomorrow.
But also, I think, a lot has been made of Lando Norris's mentality this year. A lot of people discussing it. And he's always the first to kind of fess up to anything that he deems as his fault. And so, actually, we've seen him bounce back quite quickly at times. He's able, if he has a bad Sunday, when his engine when his car went and conked out in Zandvoort, he doesn't dwell on it. That's beyond his realms. But he won't be thinking about it by the time he gets to the flight home. Okay, yes, he did hit the wall here, but I think he knows he's quick, and I think he's got that mentality where he is able to brush it off quite quickly and get on with the next thing. It happened. Okay, it does. I'll get back in the car for FP3, and I'll be quick again.
Yeah, Canada was the best example of that.
Exactly.
Where he crashed in the back of Oscar in the race, took himself out of the race, but then bounced back superbly next time on in Austria, took pole by a massive margin and really dominated that whole weekend. So yeah, you're absolutely right. I think he's shown really that he's got that ability to put what's happened past him and behind him and move forward.
George Russell flying out there at the moment. We're riding on board with Kimi Antonelli. It's Russell on the left-hand side of the picture with a little bit of a swap on. This is Antonelli though with the DRS to the line, currently down in 12th place. Rockets up to 4th, 4/10 adrift on that soft tyre. But it is George Russell flying in that first set. Be interested to see what that middle set comes to.
He's abandoned.
Did he abandon it?
Yeah, I think he's had a big moment coming out of 12 and backed out of it. So whether he's got enough time to recharge the battery and go again, he's weaving around. So let's see if he's been able to get enough battery to go straight away, or if he has to do another lap. He's going slowly here, isn't he? So I don't think he's going to go again.
No, I think he's given up on that one as George Russell down in third at the moment.
Is he just
Well, he's weird. I think
checking the car, you think, Bernie? Do you think he's touched the wall or something? He's weaving around quite aggressively there. And he's coming into the pits?
Yeah, so I think that they're on a slightly different plan because Russell's just on his first outlap on a used set. So they've done their second set, but they're running that set again. So it's showing up on the timing as this is his outlap on that set. So I think he wasn't pushing at the point where Antonelli was pushing, or well, he was clearly pushing more than an outlap.
hearing that maybe the rear right temperature was all over the shop before him and couldn't get it right through the corner for the ultimate grip for George Russell. That was what put pay for his quick lap. As we go look at Lewis Hamilton, who will become the first driver in F1 history to reach 5,000 career points if he wins this weekend. So it's a big ask for Lewis Hamilton. We'll see what unfolds. McLaren garages, still a lot of work going on Lando Norris's car after his hit against the wall. The wheels are off, the car up on the jacks, the front nose off, and the mechanics hard at work on that one.
Done some numbers, Harry.
Oh, yes, please.
Well, I'll go through it quickly and then you can stop me when it's wrong. But Leclerc ran 2 sets of softs. Oh.
We've got the Haas of Ollie Behrman, who second time he's found that bit of the runoff before you head left up the hill through turn 8, able to find reverse there, and it's so tricky. You almost have to reverse there. You can't do a quick 360 spin. It's not wide enough, but he manages it and gets back onto.
So